So, if there's two things in this world I love, it's making music and playing video games. Thanks, Nintendo!
Get ready!
So I think, like most people, I initially wrote off this Labo thing as just a cardboard toy for kids, but the more I'm seeing online, people are using the music production side of it to do some pretty interesting things. So I've just picked up a copy of it myself, and I'm going to see if it's any use for me for music production, and more specifically making some hardcore and rave with it. It takes about 2 hours to put together, I believe, so let's get started. So there we have it, my first Cardware synth. It was actually really good fun making it. It took a little bit longer than I thought it was going to. It ended up being about 3 hours, but didn't feel like a chore at all. Really good fun actually, because I'm really interested in engineering anyway, so to see how they managed to put this together just by folding a few pieces of cardboard with a couple of elastic bands was pretty impressive. So yeah, it's all put together, ready to go now, so let's see what we can do with it. Yeah, so I'm pretty impressed with it, to be honest. Just had a little poke around with the software for 30 minutes or so, and obviously the basics, you can use it as a little piano. Now, as you can see, some of the notes are a little bit funny just from how it works, because it works with little reflective tapes on the back of the keys that the infrared sensor on the Joy-Con reads which note you've pressed, and as you can see, this one's a bit of a wonky note for me. But, you know, that's to be expected. Like I said, it is just really a little bit of fun. But it has got a studio mode in it, which you can do a little bit more with, to be honest. It's quite interesting. So you've got the same as before, where it's just playing as a synth this time. But now, I don't know if you can see, there's a little switch on the side that you can change the octave. So if I tap that up and down again, and down again. So you've actually got the range of 5 octaves to play with. And you might see when I was putting it together, these little crazy bolt things. Again, it's got the reflective tape on it that the Joy-Cons can read which one it is that you've got plugged in. And each one of them change different parameters of the sound, which again is pretty cool. So if I put the first one in there, I think this affects the volume. I think number 2 changes the envelope of the note. And then number 3 adds reverb. And this one at the end is like a special effect one, which is pretty interesting. What it does is it vibrates the second controller to different frequencies of the notes. You can actually put the spare Joy-Con on different cardboard boxes, and it'll use it as a speaker to create sounds. I'll just put it on the top of it for now so you can kind of get an idea of what it's doing. I don't know how well it's going to come across on the mic, but... I guess could be pretty interesting, depending if you can find somewhere cool to put it. You can change the sound on the synth as well, which I thought was a bit crazy. I thought you were just going to select presets, but the way that it does it, they give you little cut-out cards to read in. So as you can see with there, that's kind of a sine wave. So you just drop that into the back there, punch the button, and it should load that now. And that should change the waveform of the synth that you're playing. It comes with a few bundled in. You can get like a sawtooth as well, so I'll try putting that one in just so you can hear the difference. So you go, sawtooth wave. And then the thing that I did find the most impressive about it is it came with a blank card, and you can actually use this to trace on paper, and you can draw your own waveforms in. And I assumed that it'd just be scanning, like there was some kind of way that it just knew between 2 or 3 different presets. But you can actually draw in any waveform you want, and it'll scan it using the infrared sensor. So it's almost like when you bring wavetables in on Serum or something like that. Again, not as detailed, obviously, but way more deeper than I thought it'd be for a little cardboard toy. I made this one before out of the back of a box of cereal, so I'll just scan it in now and then you can see like the difference in sounds again. So pop that one out. Just make a note of the shape and see if this works. That to me, that's pretty cool. That's the coolest thing that I've seen on it yet. But that does bring me on to the other part of how you program your drum patterns into it. So just how with the synth, you cut out your waveform out of cardboard as an analog to a real synth, you get these little punch cards to put in your rhythm, and it's almost like an old school step sequencer with it, where all these holes are punched out originally, and you keep the little dots and you put them back in, and the bottom row is your kick drum, then you've got a snare above it. Above that, you've got, I think it's a hi-hat, and then rides at the top. So I'll just hold that over the table so you can kind of get an idea for what it is, and then we'll load in the rhythm and see how it sounds when it's being played. So there's a very basic sequencer built into here as well. Pretty underfeatured, to be honest, for someone like myself that's not very good at playing, especially on a cardboard keyboard. So you haven't got anything like quantize or anything like that on there to correct any mistakes when you're playing, or to go back and edit anything that you've recorded in. But it's there, so you can record some basic compositions. I'll just show you now with the rhythm and the synth that I've loaded in. Just punch the record button here, and it gives you a count in. So that you can hear with my god-awful playing. It is possible to compose some stuff on there, but like I said, without quantize on a normal keyboard, I'm terrible, let alone on these little cardboard keys. But one last feature that I thought was cool, you may think if I'm trying to remake hardcore, that's pretty slow for happy hardcore. This is where a cool bit comes in, where you can actually wave the Joy-Con. and you can set the tempo of your project like that. So we'll try cranking it up a little bit. Okay, so one last rendition of my masterpiece before I delete it. So there we go. Can you make happy hardcore on the Nintendo Labo? Well, I guess you can, sort of. I'm sure I'll get better with it the more I play around and work out its little quirks. The keys are a little bit shaky on it, and trying to play anything with a tripod in front of me wasn't the easiest either, so I'll use that as my excuse for the terrible timing. But yeah, I think it's good fun. I mean, is it worth £60? If you just want the keyboard out of it and you want to do something productive with it, absolutely not. But I've had a good 4 or 5 hours playing around with it, really enjoyed myself, and there's still about 5 different things that I can put together with my little nephews, little go-karts and buggies and stuff. So all in all, I'm happy with the purchase. It's not really going to be any use for music production. I thought there might be a cool little way that I could integrate it into a setup just for the fun of it, but I don't think that's going to happen. There is some cool features in it. I really like the way you can cut out your own wavetables and import them, and the little step sequencer for the drums. That's very cool, analogues to like real world studios. But other than that, it's just a great bit of fun. So yeah, happy hardcore on the Nintendo Labo. We did it. Took 5 hours to make out of cardboard, took 5 minutes to make up here. I give up on cardboard.
Game.